Here's the most infamous level in the game, Metropolis Zone. A lot of people hate this level, and I mean a lot of people, even people who staunchly defend Sonic 2. Look, those badniks, those enemies are part of the reason why. It's so easy for you to get hit by them, even when you're an expert. It's not just because of... They're both annoying and annoyingly placed. Those things. See, I spin dashed through him, and it didn't kill him. And I spin dashed again, and it did kill him. Their hitboxes are really weird. It's hard exactly to describe how the hitboxes are. Suffice to say, if you try to jump at them, it's to hurt them. Sometimes it won't work. There's a lot of tricky gimmicks here. But at the same time, well, oh yeah, and I hate the slicers too. They throw the sub at you from a distance as soon as they come onto the screen. I don't just love it when you get a shield and immediately lose it. That's fun. These bolts, they aren't so bad now because you can, well, I don't think you can skip that one, but sometimes you can skip the bolts when they're coming down. But later on, it's going to be mandatory to deal with the bolts to progress. What does this contribute to level design? You're just standing around waiting. But anyways, the bolts are kind of annoying because you have these enemies that float around. I think starfish-like enemies. I'm not really sure what their names are. I don't memorize the names of every badnik in the game. But these things can easily knock out the bolts, especially when you have Tails on your side. Like, that's why I didn't choose Sonic and Tails mode, because Tails, as your partner, he has really stupid artificial intelligence. He has artificial stupidity. He's so stupid because he can very easily get you hit, or he can jump into a boss, and then the boss is flashing by the time that you jump into it for a hit. And so then you get hurt because you were inside of his hitbox by the time it stopped flashing. So sometimes Tails can be helpful, but most of the time he's just an annoyance because his AI is programmed so that he does everything just a second before you do, with a second delay, which makes sense because he can't read Sonic's mind, so he doesn't know what he's going to do until after he does it. But don't play the special stages in Sonic and Tails mode because Tails is with you in the special stages too, and it increases the amount of rings that you're expected to get to beat them. And Tails can be in front of you if he jumps, which means that he's the one that will lose rings if he gets hit by bombs. Yeah, because Tails will lose rings if he gets hit by bombs. That's another thing. He loses rings for you and makes the special stages nearly impossible to beat. Yeah, this is a pretty difficult zone. I don't really know what the warp panels contribute to the level design. They don't seem to contribute anything at all. And I hate these things too. They don't contribute anything positive. As weird as it is for me to say, Metropolis Zone is one of my favorite levels in the game. I mean that. Aside from the bolts, which waste your time, and the bolts are spinning a lot faster than you're running. And I hate it when you get knocked off the bolts and they're above you, and then you have to go back to where you were to make them respawn. Because they're high above you and they don't naturally fall back to the ground, which would have been helpful. So the badnik placement and the level design can be cheap. But, you know, that's normal for a level in this game. Like, I hate how people are like, oh, Metropolis Zone is the only point in Sonic 2 where the level design gets bad. No, not really. There's a lot of fast parts in this level. Not just in terms of slopes. Like those yellow triangle things, they bounce you really fast. And I like that, it keeps up the fast pace. And there's also a lot of satisfying platforming, like those things I just passed. There's a lot of tension, like granted, it's very tense trying to get the platforming right so that you land on them at exactly the right time so that the spears don't come out and hit you and knock you down. Which sucks because it's mandatory to use those things to progress in a vertical platforming section. I kind of like this level. I mean, it's got its problems, definitely. What level in Sonic 2 doesn't? But it's got good things about it that makes it satisfying for me to play through. I guess because I enjoy a good challenge. It feels like a lot of it is an actual challenge, not just cheap challenge. Although that was cheap. It's like, don't you just love it when you die right next to a ring box when you don't have any rings on you? Like, that's fun. There's also a lot of switches that you've got to press, and these platforms are a lot better than the ones you find in Labyrinth Zone and Scrap Brain Zone because you can actually jump on them from below. Because in Sonic 1, you couldn't do that. And you had to, and it was a lot harder to land on them as a result. But yeah, I think the level would be a lot faster and a lot more fun if there weren't those annoying badniks that were placed in annoying places that constantly interrupted you when you're trying to go fast. And those things. Like, I don't like these bolts. Like, again, they feel like it just slows you down and doesn't really contribute anything positive. And the rising and falling ground floors don't really contribute anything positive either. I hate it when that happens. This place has unusually cheery music for a level this infamously hard. And some people really enjoy hearing the music because they feel like the game is congratulating you for getting so far into it. At the same time, hearing happy music in a difficult level can feel kind of condescending. Like the game is telling you that it's an easy level, and so you shouldn't be having such trouble with it. Look at how happy the music is. I sort of like this music, but at the same time, I don't. It's complicated. It's a mixed bag, I guess. Although, it's still better than Hilltop Zone's theme. Though it's not exactly hard. There's a lot of lava in a machinery level, and you think that the lava would melt the metal surrounding it. Maybe the metal is just really, really heat resistant. But yeah, the shell crackers that I just dealt with, and the slicers that throw their stuff at you, and the floating starfish enemies. This level has some of the most infamous enemies in Sonic history. Like, even to this day. Although I like that part. I was being sent through something, and you moved along it in a certain way that's unique of a 16-bit game. Like, this game's graphics are pretty good. Like, I think... Well, I've only really seen Sonic Genesis games, except maybe Ristar and Vectorman, some of. But... yeah, this is a pretty hard section. But Mario games don't have nearly as good graphics as Sonic games. And not just in terms of the way they look, purely. But also, they can accomplish things that Super Nintendo couldn't do, like Sega does, but Nintendo don't. It's like, you're running upwards, and you're running diagonally through loops, and it's like a sort of 3D effect, and it's pretty cool. Yeah, this section can be kind of annoying. You gotta really rev up your spin dash to get up that wall far enough, and then hold left at just the right time so that you'll land on the platform. Those starfish are invincible, by the way, so you can't kill them. You have to wait for them to explode. This game has a lot of cut content, and I mean a lot of cut content. As in, there were going to be 18 planned levels for this game. But because they wanted to rush out this game to market on Christmas time, a lot of those levels had to be scrapped. Oh, a Sonic game that was Christmas rushed. Ironic, isn't it? Sonic 06 was Christmas rushed, and everyone knows how infamous that game is. Although I'm not saying this game is worse than Sonic 06. This game is, well, sort of good. I can understand, sort of, kind of, why people like it. it's not a horrible game. I'm just saying that's kind of ironic that it was Christmas rushed, and it's got all of these obvious problems with it. Like, maybe they could have ironed out the kinks if they hadn't rushed it to the market so fast. You probably noticed by now that there is an Act 3 of this level, which is rare because Sonic 2 got rid of Act 3s. Well, this is because there was originally planned to be a level called Genocide City, and later it was called Cyber City after the Japanese developers found out what genocide meant. And so this is Cyber City, which was supposed to be a single act zone, and it was transformed into Metropolis Zone. So instead of removing the third act, that stretched the game out even more. Although I love this part. Like, see, there's fast parts. Why can't more levels in this game have fast parts like that? That was a great part. Look at me defending Metropolis Zone so staunchly. You'd expect a huge fanboy of this game to do that, and not someone who doesn't really like it all that much. But anyways, there's a whole bunch of different scrapped levels for this game. And they seem to be really unimaginatively named, like Wood Zone, Rock Zone, Dust Hill. But those were prototype names, so they would have been called something better if they made it to the final product. And there's a hack called Sonic the Hedgehog Lost Worlds. No, not Lost World, the infamous Sonic game that was actually released. I'm talking about the ROM hack, Sonic the Hedgehog The Lost Worlds. And it actually tries to show off the unused levels of Sonic 2, but unfortunately, the level design is really bad, and Vadnik placement is pretty bad. The ground looks like flat planks that you're walking on, and it doesn't look all that great. But I don't think graphics are a very important part of a game, to be honest. It didn't seem like it played all that well either, because of the level design. The Wood Zone, there's actually a lot of speculation that Sonic 2 was originally going to incorporate time travel into it, and that you were going to be time traveling to different parts of the level. That you're going to be time traveling to past versions of levels. Like, people thought that Rock Zone was going to be the past version of Dust Hill. And the time travel mechanic was later reworked and put into Sonic CD, which is a game that was released around, a game that was being worked on around the same time as Sonic 2. One was being developed in Japan, and the other was being developed in America. I forget which is which. And Sonic CD, people started working on Sonic CD before Sonic 2, and the spin dash sucks in that game. So obviously, Sonic CD was canonically the game in series that came before Sonic 2. But I'm doing this game before that anyways, because it was released before it anyways. Dust Hill Zone eventually became Mystic Cave Zone. I'm not really sure how, because it doesn't sound anything like Mystic Cave Zone. I mean, one's a cave and one's a dusty hill. And Dust Hill sounds kind of redundant when we already have Oil Ocean Zone, which is basically a desert level. I mean, not really, it doesn't really have any sand in it now that I think about it. I think the real reason I think of it as a desert level is because it has stereotypical desert music in it. I'm a sucker for desert music. I love desert music in video games. So it makes sense that Oil Ocean Zone is one of my favorite tracks in the game. I also love the 2-player version of Emerald Hill Zone, because there's actually separate songs for the levels in this game that made it into 2-player. I'll talk more about that in an extra video. And I find the 2-player version of the Emerald Hill Zone's theme to be a lot more memorable, and makes me smile a lot more, which is ironic because I've never had anyone to play the multiplayer mode of this game with me. There's also Death Egg Zone, which was going to be a fully fledged final level after this, but most of it was cut. And as a result, that explains why what looks like a level that was just for 2 bosses and that's it, had a very long song to it. Even though you're only going to be hearing the music for like 2 seconds until you start hearing the boss music. And the music for Death Egg Zone is really weird and surreal. I don't think I stop and show all of it off, but you can look it up. It's pretty weird. Yeah, this is a pretty weird boss fight. I think he just put mannequins in there, and that's how it works. Because I'm not sure. Like if he cloned himself, that would bring a whole bunch of problems that would seep into the story, like different Eggmans competing with each other for world conquests and stuff. Or they teaming up and stuff. I hate this boss, though I hate fighting it because it's so hard to avoid getting hit by the balls when you're trying to jump into him. Wood Zone was eventually worked into Mushroom Hill Zone, which showed up in a later game in the franchise. And I'm glad because Wood Zone was more of a forest level, and there was also going to be a snow level that had Christmas trees in it that was later reworked in Sonic 4 Episode 2. They were actually going to recolor the desert level to be a snow level somehow. I'm not really sure how that would have worked. And ironically enough, I haven't gone through all the trivia for this game. I'll see you next part for the most boring level in all of Sonic history. See you then.